God, that's I can't watch ugly people. T t today was the start of
Stay
bike.
in the house then. I mean, have you walked around
Well,
the east coast of Florida?
dude, I keep my windows are as tinted as they can be going. I mean, I got sunglasses on, they're polarized. I got blinders on. So today's the first day of bike week.
Oh,
And
good.
up in front of me are three couples. All right. And I mean, it looked like back when when the Redskins were the Hogs. I mean, it looked like six of the Hogs, except three of them were female. And
Mrs. John Riggins on the back of one.
yeah, and it started to lightly rain, but we didn't have a pleasant day today. It was kind of gray, and they were just they were, and it picked up, and they were kind of getting pelted. And I pulled up next to him on the side and just looked over at him, and like just the misery on their face, you know. The only thing that could have like probably pulled them out of that misery is maybe if somebody said, "Hey, the Gino's pizza rolls are ready" or something. I don't know, but
Or
yeah,
meth.
yeah, no, these fat fucks, they would. I mean,
Now you tend to stay thin on meth, right? Yeah, that's.
I would hope if you could
But
get if you could get that fat on meth, it's like I don't know.
so I mean,
Don't you lose your
Dayt-
teeth?
Daytona's like the hub for that bike week, isn't it? It's like,
It's one of the bigger ones.
yeah.
Sturgis and Daytona, and now see we have Bike Week, which is in like March, April, like that's like the Bike Week, and then they started up with Biketoberfest is the second one, which is actually the better of the two as far as weather wise. But
Right.
now you've got like down Atlantic, which is 2 lanes, the beach road. You've got the right-hand lane basically blocked with the Service Pro trucks. All the
Oh, the disaster relief.
so that whole so now you've taken all these people and you've jacked them into basically one lane of traffic on that side where all the condos are, and they come over the bridge and they're funneled. I mean, it starts. It's going to be such a cluster this weekend. There's going to be, I predict 30. I predict 30 deaths.
Are there deaths every year
Oh
from
yeah, yeah,
accidents,
yeah.
traffic accidents?
Number one, you go down Main Street. I remember one time me and my son went down Main Street when he was young. We went down like in the daytime, and I just went over and I looked at the odometers on these motorcycles. There's like 70, 80, 90, $100,000 motorcycles. And their odometers are like 2,200. Like these aren't bikers. These are rich lawyers that go out
Oh,
and yeah. So they have no clue on they're not
executive
real.
vice presidents of WCW on the
No,
motorcycle.
Eric could drive.
Was Eric a real bike? I was meant to ask.
Yes.
That wasn't
Eric,
just a put on to
no,
do the
no,
pay-per-view?
no, no. Eric rides horses. Eric's the real deal.
That's a shame. I like to think of him as I mean, give me something to break his chops about. Like, well, you ride a motorcycle. How did you feel about it? Were you at the were you there for that pay-per-view?
I think we did 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, so you were there for them.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have to ride?
Fuck no.
Okay.
Me and
Hog
Scott,
Wild was it called?
me and Sam,
Perhaps?
no, yeah, me and Scott showed up the first year in a Taurus. I remember we were driving from like Casper, Wyoming or something like that. And the sun was like blaring in our eyes. I didn't have sunglasses on, but Kid and Scott both did.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some little prairie dogs in the middle of the road. And I mean, I'm going like 80 and I never stopped. And I just mowed these prairie dogs over and I didn't see them. And it wasn't like they made like like when you hit a coyote or something like that, and you hear it underneath your vehicle banging around,
Mm.
and they just like looked at me like I was some like sociopath, and they're like, "Dude," I'm like, "What? You didn't see them?" I said, "See what?" And they thought I was ripping, and I was like, "No, dude, I didn't see anything." Like, "You're driving, you can't see?" I'm like, "Well, I see the road, man, I can't, man." You know, I'm sure if the prairie dog was, behind an 18-wheeler, I wouldn't have hit it, but
Yeah, there's a huge Harley dealership in Daytona, right? Bruce Rossmeyer, it was called.
it's up on
On
nine.
one, right?
No,
Well,
it's on
the 95 exit
95.
onto
Yeah,
one that merged there. Yeah.
yeah.
So I remember I was driving down to Florida, like 10 years ago, like 15 years ago, maybe. And there were all these billboards, and he used to be on them. And he was a big furry guy, kind of like the bikers we've been talking about, a little overweight but like looked like a biker. I cast him.
He got killed in Sturgis.
And unbelievably, I'm looking at him, I'm like, man, you got to look like a badass like that to fucking ride one of those things. Every time I drive by, I'd see all those and then I get into my hotel. It was in the summer. I turn on the news or whatever. He was killed on the road.
And what it was it was an old couple in a van pulling a trailer, and they had a blind spot, and they passed Bruce and his crew, and then they thought that they cleared them, and they just pulled over, and it took them all out. Took Mr. Rossmeyer out. He was a good dude.
Oh, so you know him?
Yeah, like
Oh.
anybody that lived here knew him.
Okay. Yeah, so I got the
I
date
knew
on
his,
it,
I knew
too.
his daughters, and yeah, it's just
July 31st, 2009. Yeah. So it was at that point I decided I would not be getting a Harley. That's all it took.
I could barely drive a fucking car. I'm not getting out something with two wheels. Remember, everybody started driving those. Like, the last time I rode a bike, I had an English Racer. I had like the skinny tired, Junet, 20 speed. And now everything's got those knobby tires, because they're like off road and everything else.
Yeah.
It's just like you ride those on cement. It's like it ain't like riding a bike. Like, oh, it's just like getting on riding. Like, no, man. Like we didn't have this. Like we went from the Schwinn's to with the small tire in front and the slick in the back, the orange crates and pea picker and cotton picker, and you remember those with the high dollar. With the stick shift on them.
I grew up in a city
So,
with concrete.
so that's just where you drove. What are you doing?
Bottle caps
What do
and
you do?
football and manhunt. And
So that's exactly where you would ride a Stingray.
yeah, okay. We didn't. Wasn't exposed to it.
It wasn't like those weren't farm. Those with a
Farmland.
with a sissy bar and a small little drum brake in front. That motherfucker was like a low rider,
When I was young, I do remember a couple of standout terms. Mongoose, was that a very cool bike at one time? Because I think some of the cool kids might have had mongooses, or were stealing them anyway. They were talking about mongooses.
I'm so old. The only mongoose I know is I think Tom McEwen. He was a drag racer.
Okay, I thought you were going to say drag queen for a minute, but
Drag racer.
mongoose.